talk on like it just seems like it's real to me for some reason.
Oh man, that's funny, man. I appreciate that, man. You know, my like I said, man, my mama would be proud. Get it
Does
from
anyone
mom.
imitate you?
Yes, they do. I mean, no one famous. Like there hasn't been any viral imitation moments or anything like that. But my friends, my family, they definitely when they really getting on me, they definitely throw some extra bass in their voice.
That's what's up, man. Hey, I see it, bro.
What's up, man? I'm recording right now, just to let you know.
All right, that's what's up.
Cool, man. You ready to get started?
Hell yeah.
All right, man. Paige Kennedy. You got the upcoming release of the project, Paige.
Yeah.
10 tracks of flitting, fire.
I wish we had a bomb.
You're right. I need to get my tech up. Get my tech up a little bit. But yeah, man. So how do you feel about the upcoming release? Do you generally get nervous before projects come out?
Yeah, definitely. I definitely get nervous. And this particular project was pushed back a couple times. Last time being like so my daughter's wedding was just this past weekend.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you. And that was a whole ordeal that was amazing and awesome. And you know, the album was still gonna come then, but I'm so glad that it didn't, because I didn't want anything to detract from it. Had just been too distracting for me to try and juggle both of these things. And so but I'm nervous. I'm excited. You know, this is my first go around at something like this with this delineation. But yeah, I'm ready, man. I'm ready to see what the response is.
What's unique this time? Your first go around with this delineation?
Because this is my first social commentary on, you know, I've never done a full album with this consciousness. Yeah. You know, so you know, I've had songs that speak on injustices and speak on our plight, but I've never done a whole project of it. Yeah. So that's new for me. And you know, and I feel like, you know, my maturation is coming like in real life too. Like seeing as I use an example, I feel like I ascribe that to be like Royce's maturation as a person that turned into his art, because that's what happens, right? We change, we grow as people, and then it affects every aspect of our life. And I feel like that's what happened with him. You know, he started to grow as a person, and then the allegory came out of that. You know what I mean? And so I feel like the same thing happened for me. The world happened to me, and it was so it was so intense that I had to deal with it. Even though I'm a loving person, I love everybody. I just want to give positive energy and fun, and you know what I'm saying, and equality and all that. That's how I go through life. And it just slapped me in the face so hard that it forced me to deal with it. And I said, I'm going to use my voice to disseminate this in the way that I do it best, which is through my words and my acting, and you know.
Yeah, I think Fear came out last summer. The video for that, right?
Yeah, Fear came out at the end of the summer, which was predicated to promote voting for us, and then Safe followed that up because I wanted to also still, you know, I want to give the woman's perspective of it, and then I also wanted to use that, you know, in this pervasive message to spark change and to get people to vote.
So yeah, I see it right there. I mean, look, now if I'm listening to Exhibit, who's on this album, by the way, he's on Setup. If I'm listening to Exhibit, Black Lives Only Matter during elections and protests.
Hey, that's what he says. That's what he says. You know I'm really curious to see what you thought of that song, and you know, I want to talk about the song and how we created it, but I'm curious to see someone like you who's a historian, and you know, your breakdown acuity is so on point that I don't know if the casual listener would fully grasp what we were doing in that song, you know, until like maybe some time later. I feel like, you know, it potentially can be like introspective, like Kendrick, you know, the beat feels like a Kendrick type of thing, you know, but there was like real messaging in there, and I'm just curious to see what you grasp from it.
I mean, I like the song. I like the back and forth commentary you guys are doing.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I like the you juggling bars feel, you know, between the two of you. You know, and I think that is a great song that lends itself to a visual. Do you have an opportunity?
Yeah.
Are you guys doing that?
So we have a visual that is coming Tuesday, and I had to do a visual because you know, like I said, a lot of things may have slipped through the cracks based off of how we presented it, you know, and I feel like the visual can help see that. You know, the point of this was to show black on black crime, to show why it happens, where it comes from, where it stems from, and how do we fix it, you know, where you have this white lady who is, you know, by setting me up is setting both of us up, you know, and but he can't see that, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And then, you know, having her be the metaphor for the system, the government, like, you know, she's not just like a actual physical human being, she's actually represented by something that's higher, that is uh pitting us against each other, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And that's the complexity and the paradox of the song.
Yeah, I think you know, I think you're right about that. I don't know if the casual listener is going to pick up, at least, especially the metaphor between the woman and the government. I'm not sure if that's going to come through, but I'm also not sure how many people are active listeners of music in the same way. You know, like
Yeah.
I think a lot of people tend to be more passive listeners and they catch things in the long run. But what I really appreciated about it, it was that when I was listening to Exhibit's verses or the Exhibit's portion of the song, I could understand where he's coming from. You know what I mean? Like you could see the lack of options that, you know, he conveys through his verses. And then and the same thing with yours. I mean, I think yours is like you got set up, but I mean, spoiler alert. But the balance went well, and I think both your voices sound really great in that track too. And you switch your voice up a lot on that song too. You know, from your normal octave on there. I can't wait to see the visual though, and I think that's one of the stronger points on the project. You know, to be honest.
Oh, that's one of the. So if you had to, if there were like if you had to point out your high notes on a project,
Mm-hmm.
that would be one of them. That would be at the top.
I like storytelling tracks. I think that one's powerful. I love metaphor. My two things that I think about more than anything else when I think about any artist are voice and imagination. How you sound while you're saying something that the whole world, everyone in the history of heartbeats has already said before, but in a new way. You know what I mean? And so I think that was one of the strongest pieces that connect with the things I look for in a song. You know what I mean? And plus, like, you know, and I think that it's difficult. Like, not every collaboration to me works, not necessarily just because of what's being said or the verses or the music itself, but how the voices sound next to each other.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so I think that both you and Exhibit's octaves also really complement each other and shine going back and forth as you tell the story. So to me, that's one of the one. I mean, that one also was super rewindable for me. That one had replay value for me in a different way because of that, because I'm following the story. You know what I mean?
Right,
so,
right.
Yeah.
And because of all the nuances in it, you can pick up new things like that. You know, that I feel like that song is one that lends to finding things that you didn't hear the first time more so than, you know, a lot of the other ones that were kind of in your face, you know?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, look, and I think that you did a great job because you're right. This is a very social leaning, arguably political leaning project. You know, to me, it feels more like social commentary than it does political commentary. I don't hear. I mean, I know that
I don't really do political commentary. I haven't grown that much.
You know, but there's a lot of powerful stuff in there. I mean, like Queen, for example. I mean, the you know, right out the gate, it opens up with, you know, this is, you know, dedicated to Black women and for Black women. Yeah, you know what I mean? And I thought it was great. I think that was right after Safe, if I'm not mistaken. One or two tracks after Safe.
I think it came after Ride. Okay. Ride was just something.
Right, that was the palate cleanser.
I mean, it was pretty tough, bro. We was going down a cavern hole, and so I had to throw Shine in there and Ride just so that you could have some respite from all of the deepness that you was seeing.
Yeah. But you did a great job of still making the project enjoyable, which can be tough with, you know, heavier commentary, right? Like, what's the second joint with Elzai and Pain?
Oh, Pain.
Right? Like, Pain is called Pain. It's a heavy song, but it's still enjoyable.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Same thing with Woke, you know, like, you know, the first track on there, you know, those are two, as I would describe, probably the two bar fests on the project. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And that was intentional too, because, you know, my albums are usually content story based things that have value that lasts more than right now. It's something that 20 years from now, you can go back and listen to Page Kennedy albums and they still work because they're made to last forever. You know why? Because stories last forever. They never get old. We can listen to Slick Rick's stories. We can listen to Gangster Fairy Tale right now because stories can't get old. Waves can get old. Like fucking stuff that is exciting to talk about now or whatever, that can be old, you know, in 20 years. But a story, that's why Shakespeare is still so prevalent, well, at least for me, because stories, you relate to them, so they can't get old to you, you know. And so Straight Bars mixtape is dedicated to show off my dexterity, you know, of my pen game, you know what I mean? And so that's what that's for. So this was an album, so it's meant to have a reason. But I was like, I gotta have at least one or two songs where I'm rapping, and even though Woke is an intro to show you where I came from and how I was not this way and how I came to be this way to give what I want, I still wanted to have some bars in there. And I was like, I gotta get one song where we just rapping, you know, and that's what that Pain song was.
Yeah,
for us just to rap.
What'd you say on that joint? Suwoo don't get blood shot like Jordan's eyes is.
Suwoo don't get blood shot as Jordan's eyes is.
That one stopped me much. I had to put my Bulls sweater on just for that one. You know what I'm saying? I was like, oh, that was the funniest one. I think about that so often. I'm like, why do Michael Jordan's eyes look like that?
I'm like, man, come on, bro. You was the greatest, man. Why you look like that?
Right. What happened to your wardrobe and your eyes and the whites of your eyes?
Come on, man. You didn't touch a net right now if you jump.
That's what happens. You have 20 years of bad draft picks, and that's just what happens.
Hey, man, when you that rich, you don't give a fuck.
You don't care. That's very true.
You don't care, bro. You don't care. Hey, you said something interesting about that. Circling back to the exhibit thing with the voice. You mentioned our voices complementing each other, and I just remember being in the studio with him. And first of all, let me tell this story. He's the only person that I was physically in the studio with on this project. You know, Meth was somewhere else, L was somewhere else, everyone, Ali Caldwell somewhere else. But Exhibit was adamant about having me try something different and new and being in the studio with him, not just to record it, but to actually create it. And so I came to him with this idea that I wanted to do, because I felt like if I have all of these things talking about cops killing us, the elephant in the room is us killing us. That's a huge problem as well, and I need to talk about it. And so I'm like, who else better to do that than with him that could play this character, And so when we were going through beats, like the first beat he played, Focus, the producer Focus, Dr. Dre's producer Focus. As soon as I heard that, I was like, that's it. And he was like, yeah, hold on, relax, I'm gonna get right back to it. And then he played like 25 other beats, and they was good. I like those beats. I was like, yeah, I fucks with, but I gotta say, go back to that first one. You know what I'm saying? So we got that beat, and he was like, I was like, so you gonna let me take this home and I'll write my stuff in that? He's like, nah, we ain't doing it. We just go do it, right? And so he made me come there, and I had such consternation about doing that because I've never done that before. I've never made something extemporaneously. I always take my stuff and then I go home and in my privacy, my own things. I'm not embarrassed by anybody around. And then I come back, and he was like, nope. So he made me write my rap right there, and we just kept going back and forth. So he wrote his stuff. We were just sitting down watching the game or something. They played the beat, he wrote it. He went later, he was like, now your turn. I didn't have nothing yet. I was like, okay. So I wrote my part, and then it got in the flow, bro. And we just kept going back and forth. And then his uncle was in there. He was like, y'all like prize fighters. Y'all just going back. Like as soon as he come out, you go in, and then he come out. And it was the energy of that was so fresh. And the reason there's no chorus there is because we kept going back and forth so much that there was no place of it. It was just happening. And at a certain point, I was like, okay, hold on now. We got to wrap this up now. What's going on? We got to, And so I think that because the lack of structure kind of augments to how convoluted it could be in its nature of what we're trying to get across. So I feel like that could have been executed better if it had more structure to it, but that's what the visual is for, is to help that. But anyway, I said all that to say, when I was listening to my voice unmixed, and then he did his and he doubled his shit, and I don't double usually. And I was like, oh my God, man, his voice sounds so much stronger than mine. I sound like a little bitch. But then after it got mixed, like my voice sounded like my voice, and then I felt like, okay, I was like, okay. But initially I was like, oh man, not only am I a bitch in this goddamn character, I sound like a bitch. So that's when you brought up the voice compliment, that's what was going on internally with me.
That's the magic of mixing right there.
Right.
That mix is important. Yes, don't let anybody tell you otherwise.
It's very, very important.
Why are all the song titles one word?
Because that was a choice that I made. Like when I first made Fear, that word, I'm a wordsmith. I love words. I love beautiful words. I'm a Shakespearean major in graduate school. So that's my thing. I love using beautiful words. And so, and I don't just use big words for the sake of, waxing eloquently. I use them because certain words help the delineation of my meaning. It helps me pinpoint exactly and specifically what I'm trying to say, more so than, just like some whatever type of word. And so Fear, that's why I put on the videos, I always put the definition of it too, so you can really see it. You know what I'm saying? And fear is just such a powerful word that we don't think about the actual definition of it. And I thought that was helpful. I didn't need to make it a bunch of other stuff. I needed to be right there. Fear. That's what we're dealing with. We're dealing with the deleterious effects of what fear does to both sides, us and them. You know what I mean? And so when I did Fear and then I had Safe, I was like, I kind of like this. I'm gonna make these stories. I'm gonna make these points, idioms, and I'm gonna do them all with one word. And since all of my albums are my name based, it just felt right that the album is just self-named.
Arielle is another powerful moment on the project. Break it down.
Arielle is my niece from Detroit, my sister's only child, who, you know, obviously I've helped raise, who adores me. I'm her hero. You know, I brought her to Los Angeles to show her a different world and a different life, because you get stuck in the inertia of being in the same place for your whole life. And then there's a vicious cycle that happens. So if people know my life, you know, they know my history with my mom and my dad and how truculent that has been. And you know, my mom had my daughter. My daughter is a representation and emblematic of my mom, you know. And then my sister had, I said my daughter, I meant my sister. And then my sister had my niece extremely early, 15, 16 years old. She was a kid herself. She didn't know how to be a mom. So obviously she didn't have the tools to be a great mom. She was based off of the mom that she had. And so the same cycle was happening, you know, and I was like, I wasn't able to save my sister, but I was like, but maybe I can save my niece. And so I was just bring her here to try and give her a new light and all of this. And yeah, man, she's 14 years old. Middle of the night, her friends like, hey, we got a car, let's go riding in it. Riding in a damn joyriding up and down the streets of Detroit, just in our block, just in, like on our streets. And they hit a groove. They say that she was like hanging out the window and all that, but she ended up being ejected from the car, and the car like trampled her and killed her. And then all her friends just like ran and left her there to die, you know. And that was really tough for us, because my mom and my sister, I got a lot of family on my dad's side. I don't have much on my mom's side. My little sister only has my mom, her daughter, and me. That's it, you know. And so when that was taken from her, it was just such a tough thing. And I had to commemorate her the best way I know how. And she can't hear the song, so the song is really for my mom and my sister. You know, they're the ones that are affected, or whoever Arielle's friends are. You know what I'm saying? Because Arielle can't hear it, and I just really wanted that to be one of the most powerful songs on the album. Ali Caldwell, bless me, because she just made it even more powerful, because she's that amazing. And yeah, that's one of my. You say how Set Up is one of the standouts for you. Well, Flowers and Arielle are like my standouts.
What was your mom and your sister's reaction?
Well, my mom, obviously, you know, my sister did not respond to me for 3 days, and I was like, oh shit. Like, you know, I didn't even tell my sister I was doing it. I just wanted it to be a surprise, and I just wanted to send it to her, and I did that. And she didn't respond for 3 days. And I was like, oh shit. Because I didn't know how she was going to react, because my sister is crazy. she is cantankerous. She is ornery. She's crazy. So I didn't know what her response was going to be. I didn't know she was going to lash out to me. I didn't know she was going to like it. But she really appreciated it. She really appreciated. Our first words was, that lady sung the hell out of my baby name. And so yeah, and then when I went home, I was in the car, in the rental car, and my mom, my little sister were in the car, and the song came on, and I could just see my mom like just bawling. But the strange thing is, my sister, I was kind of like looking back, like I didn't get any reaction from her. And so I wonder what that was. I was like, is she numb? is she hiding? Is it like I didn't want to ask her, why didn't you cry? It was a mental note for me that I wonder what was that? Why did she have no visible reaction? I don't know. Especially when my mom was just like destroyed. You know what I mean? So that's what the reaction was.
And even still, you still haven't received a reaction at all.
No. She told me.
She mentioned. Okay.
Yeah.
She said the hell of my baby name.
But I'm just saying, when I came back this last time and I played it, like, and there was no reaction immediately for me, I was confounded.
Yeah. I feel like there could be some catharsis in, those type of songs that come from a place of tragedy, that come from a painful place. How did you feel after the song was finally finished? When the mix was done, the master was done, what was your first feeling?
So initially, I had another singer on it that I had found from TikTok. She was one of the winners of the X Factor. And I had her do it initially because Ali Caldwell had already murdered Safe. Like when you watch the video Safe, like all the comments is how much people are crying, you know what I mean? And Kim feels like helped assist that, but because I already used her, I didn't want to use her again on this song too. I want to have a fresh voice, but she did it twice for me, but to cut through the bullshit, it didn't make me cry. When I listened to the song and I listened what she did, it didn't make me cry. And I said, okay, well then this is not it. Because if you don't get emotional when you hear this, if the singer isn't one of the main things you talk about after hearing this song, then it's not right. And so, I had to take that L, I paid her anyway. And then I just went back to Ali and I was like, here's my dilemma. Like, I need more passion. I don't need it to be pretty. I need it to be guttural. I need it to be visceral. I need something that is gut wrenching, and she came back with that. Yeah. So
yeah, it's a beautiful moment. It's a beautiful tribute.
Thank you, man. Thank you. I'm glad that song stood out to you.
Yeah. Flowers.
Yes.
You actually mentioned Shakespeare in Flowers, which I didn't realize that you studied Shakespeare in grad school.
Yeah.
That's a very, it's funny. I think about Flowers all the time because, it is something that I think rings, inherently true. We don't necessarily show our appreciation for people nearly as often, or at least while they're here. We wait until, they pass away, then we
like if Tiger would have died, everything would have been for the next month flowers.
Yeah.
That he couldn't smell.
Right. Well, Tiger got a lot of flowers over his years.
Well, yeah, you know what I mean.
So I get you, but you're 100% correct. But I've never actually thought about it from your perspective, right? I don't know if your reputation is one where people are, have really ranked you yet, or have compared you to contemporaries. I'm not sure if that has been a natural thing from an audience standpoint, or from your fan standpoint, or from a media standpoint. And you have the reps, you have tons of projects, you're incredibly talented MC. You haven't lost on a track with any of the, the contemporary greats that you align yourselves with. And it doesn't, and sometimes I think that people, it can come across as, people, being selfishly boastful in with those type of songs. This one doesn't come across that way. This one actually comes across from a perspective of like, why am I not ranking Paige Kennedy? Why is Paige Kennedy not mentioned more? And I also think it ties the project together well, right? I mean, it's a personal project, it's a social project, it's got bars, it's got incredible MCs on it, it's got storytelling on it. But this is the part where I feel like we really get to see you, where you are in your career after all the things that you've accomplished. And the last thing that happens after that is more people need to take note.
Yeah. Flowers is my favorite song on the project. And probably because of how much fervor is behind the ideology of it, especially for me. You know, a lot of people don't know like how long I've been doing this. You know, they know me from the time that the internet has been prevalent. They know me from being funny and movies or TV or whatever. They don't know that like I've literally been on stages since I was 10 years old, and I'm 44 years old. That's a long time. That's before they were even born. That's my average fan. I've been rapping before they were even alive, you know. And the tough part about it, the caveat is, back then, if you didn't have a record deal, no one could know who you were. So I've had albums for 30 years, you know, that just my friends got or my family, or because I didn't have a record deal, you know. And it wasn't until the internet came and I was able to make people laugh, so then I can give them what I actually have to say, which is this music. That was my whole point of making people laugh in the first place, because I had to get their attention, you know. And so they don't know that, you know, I've been on tour with Biggie Smalls and Ice Cube. They don't know how Biggie looked at me as an MC, how LL Cool J looks at me as an MC, how legends look at me as a rapper that have known me since I was a kid. You know what I'm saying? And so, but I know that I have all of that in my, and so I, you know, I have so much passion behind this, and yes, it infuriates me, because I know, far as the diversity of talent that I bring, you know, I should be at top A-list talent wise. You know, I don't have the money, I don't have the fame, I don't have the backing of like some of the, when you think of rappers slash actors, there's people that you put up there. But if you were to take and strip away the name, and you were to place just the talent and the diversity of talent, all of it together, and how commensurate it was with each other, not one rapper that is way up here but their acting is down here, or vice versa, you would have to put me up there. And I don't get that conversation because I don't have the accolades as a rapper yet, you know. And that's so frustrating to me, and I fight for that every day, because, like, you know, you have people say this stuff to me, and other big time influencers, and they tell me this, but they're not co-signing me. Like, you know, I'm not in the conversations. I was in a clubhouse a week or two ago, and they were talking about the best rappers in Detroit, and, like, you know, I'm like, nobody talks about me as being a Detroit rapper. But then some of the people that they talking about, I know for a fact I'm better than them. Songwriting, battle, whatever place you want to put, I know that I'm better, but I'm not in that conversation. And so it's so, like, it makes me incensed, you know.
Well, why do you think that is? My question is, why do you feel like you haven't received your lyrical flowers yet?
And that is the question that I wanted to ask you. That is the question that I wanted to have your unadulterated, unfiltered answer of, when you think about Paige Kennedy as a rapper, even for yourself, why don't you talk about me? Why don't you think that I have made it in a bigger noise than I have? Is it because of age? Is it because of my personality, or the lack of style? Because I will say this. I will say there are some rappers who, I'm not going to mention names, but there are some rappers who are the most incredible MCs ever. But because they lack personality, no one cares. No one cares, because you want to root for somebody that you like, that you feel connected to, that you think you know. You know what I'm saying? And so because their personality, at least that they give publicly, is just like blah, or they're introverts or whatever, they're never going to be on a high level, because the community is not going, they're going to have their core base fans of their lyrical ability, but they're not going to be able to make it to a stardom because they don't have that, whatever that light is that people want.
Yeah,
So,
I don't necessarily think of you as a Detroit rapper, which is, because away from your music, I really only know you in Los Angeles. I know you more on the big screen than, I knew you on the big screen before I was even introduced to your music, to be honest. And so, from a Detroit perspective, I can't speak for Detroit because I don't know Detroit at all like that. But everyone else that I think of from that city or from any city, most of my initial interactions with their art or their content comes from them being in that city or talking about that city or describing that city. That wasn't my journey to finding your music. So I can't necessarily speak from a Detroit standpoint. But I do think that the intangibles are always important. And you're right about that, right? Like sometimes crazy hair makes a difference, right? Like sometimes confrontation makes a difference. But I also think that the most important thing is perseverance. And so I don't necessarily look at a group of artists who will never have that light based off of their art or their songs, their albums as being the reason why they won't have that light. And the reason I say that is because you have artists like Killer Mike, for example. You have artists like Royce, to me, is a great example of that. These are guys who just persevered, kept rapping, kept finding different collaborations, kept finding their partner, and eventually their niche was blown wide open, right? And so like Black Thought is someone to me that is arguably the greatest rapper of all time, right?
right.
He's on Tonight Show every night.
Mm-hmm.
You can argue he's a bona fide celebrity, bona fide superstar. You can argue it. The reason why I say argue rather than confirm it is because most people think of the Roots as Questlove, the guy with the crazy hair and, who's on the drums and conducting the Roots experience. When Black Thought puts out solo, Black Thought came out with maybe 5 EPs over the past 2 years. I'm not sure I've never run into anyone who is not in this space talk about, did you hear that Black Thought project?
Right.
And so even with his exceptional talent, being on TV every single day, part of the legendary Roots crews, performing all over the world, getting more reps than everybody, he is still muted in that. Right. And you can argue why. Maybe his interviews aren't that interesting.
Personality.
Maybe he's arguably lack of personality, you know what I'm saying? He looks real regular, looks like he could be a regular guy walking down Philly, and so through
no
that
controversy.
Right, no controversy, and so and all those things, especially the no controversy part and the muted personality part, are two of my favorite things about Black Thought because they accentuate how great his music is in the first place. But I don't know how many people really know his story either. Like Black Thought has one of the most traumatic backstories ever. Like the stuff he lived through in his life is nuts, but he doesn't put it out there on Front Street in that way to galvanize an audience or to spark a match on people who want to talk about their street credibility or whatever it is. He is a muted personality, I personally believe intentionally, for one reason or another, and that translates to the fact that Black Thought doesn't sell records on his own, doesn't make a splash on his own, or at least hasn't, we'll say that. Killer Mike, right? Killer Mike is one of those cats who had, he came out of the legendary Dungeon family. He put together incredible mixtape series, the whole Pledge series, all that stuff was amazing. He uses his voice, for social reasons, for political things that he supports, and he rips microphones that are crazy. I would argue he doesn't really break until Run the Jewels. When he finds his primo or his producer, brings in a whole nother audience. LP had that underground audience. He got that Pitchfork audience. You know what I'm saying? Like, so you put those two things together, and now you have a bigger wave, right? Look at Royce, right? Everything that happened between Royce and M in their careers, right? They were together, thick as thieves, and then they fall out, and then they come back together. They do the Bad Meets Evil project. I would argue that didn't necessarily do as much I would argue that, I'm not saying this is true. I don't think that Royce came off of Bad Meets Evil as a bigger star in a bigger light after that project, right? You have Slaughterhouse.
Definitely made some money off that lighters.
Oh, he better. Right. Yeah, I hope that was the case. If not,
Yeah, that probably is like the pinnacle of
Right,
financially.
right. But you know that then you move over to Slaughterhouse, right? So that's two, you know, projects around the same time, or you know, in a couple years span, where you take other audiences and bring it into him, right? You look at everyone else in Slaughterhouse. All of those guys were arguably overlooked, and they came together, and then their light got big. And I would say that Royce and Budden came away from that as bona fide rap stars out of that. To me, they leveraged that the best. And I think we see King Crooked doing it now through his media ventures. But then Royce comes out with a project with Primo, right? So these are consecutive projects in a row where he is pairing with other audiences that bring him into a conversation. So by the time we get to, you know, the Book of Ryan or the Allegory, you know, or what was it called? Tabernacle, I think it was called.
That's the Book of Ryan.
Yeah, the song. Yeah, Tag was on it. Didn't he have a mixtape? He had a mixtape series.
Yeah, it's called Trust the Shooter, which was incredible.
Right. So those are all bookends. Like if we look at this as a shopping mall, right? You know, there's, you know, you go to the shopping mall, you got like Belk, you got Dillard's, you got Sears, the big anchor stores, right?
Yeah.
And then in between in the shopping mall, you have the Gap, or you got GameStop, or whatever, the smaller store. His anchors were always anchors that brought in other audiences to increased his visibility, or allowed him to cross over into other fan bases that maybe he wasn't directly connected with. I'm not saying this is a strategy. I'm saying this is what it looks like to me. And so everything in between that is like interest and is stacking on the reputation. And then there's another anchor project to the point where he becomes now the anchor. You know, so when I think of, and the reason I look at these three guys specifically is because they all look like regular dudes. You know, they didn't dye their hair nuts. You know, they didn't. You know, Method Man's case, for example, like he's one of the greatest ever. He's funny. He was saying most of Method Man's raps in the beginning to me, I loved them when I was a kid because they always referenced cartoon characters or something I saw on TV, right? I loved it. I loved the way he flipped it. His voice was awesome. But the most vivid image I had in the beginning of Method Man was when he did the All I Need video and half his head was done and the other half wasn't done. You know what I mean? Like, so I see where you're coming from, and I agree with you when you know, when there's certain ancillary characteristics that, you know, seem to propel people into stardom in one way or the other. But I also think that, you know, pairing with different audiences is something that, you know, for those people who didn't do those other things, who weren't surrounded by conflict and strife all the time, who were being overlooked in their own time, in their own town, they were able to supersede some of that by how they, you know, matched up to other people, partnerships that they developed. Or
you think that's part of the reason why I haven't been able to pop or be in the conversations?
Yeah, I don't know what your base is, to be honest. You know what I mean? Like you described Detroit. I personally know you to be more out here more often. I see a lot of one-off projects. I see, you know, one-off songs, or I see, you know, mixtapes or EPs and things like that. But I don't know what the Page Kennedy fan looks like. You know, I unfortunately I haven't been to your show, and I know that the past 18 months is COVID. I mean, that's a whole different thing. So from that perspective, now it's just your music, and you do a lot of stuff that is you, right? So from a media room standpoint, from a you know, so, or let's say if we're from a publication standpoint, right? You know, it feels like you're walking alone, and not to say that that's a negative thing. I'm saying it makes it slower for the light to get to you, right? Because now it becomes a marathon instead of a sprint, obviously, but it's going to take longer for people to get used to. Man, you know what? Page Kennedy been rapping really great for a long time now. Maybe we should call him up, see what he's talking about. I mean, that's how these thought processes go. You know what I mean? So I'm not telling anybody. I'm definitely not telling you to start pulling out some antics and things like that. And I'm not telling. Right.
Which kind of did, you know, like I said, like I think Elzai is one of the dopest MCs alive, right? You know, but he also is an introvert. Like I don't feel like he gives you himself outside of the music very often. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like, you know, I wish more people could hear how amazing he was, but he kind of keeps it hip hop, keeps it cool, never looks like a goofball or like he's just like cool. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And I wish that that there was something else that was brighter about him that made that caused people to want to go to him. And so when I think about that, and I think about Black Thought, he's another one. You know, I thought the same thing about like Crooked Eye, you know, before he got into this media space. It's just like super dope rapper, but you don't really know, like, you know what I'm saying? He doesn't like stand out in a way to make him like A-list. And but Joe did stand out. You know what I'm saying? Like even before the whole media Joe, like he just did. And so I was like thinking to myself, I'm like, my personality definitely stands out. Like I, you know, so I just didn't get it, man. And it does bother me, you know, because I want to be a part of those conversations, because I really work hard and diligently to make dope music. Like I work hard on it, you know. And so the Flower song, and I made it the last song intentionally because I wanted it to be able to reach everyone in the sense that it's not just about me, but about you, and to have you think for yourself. Maybe I should call my boy that threw me that $100 when I had nothing going on. Maybe I should go and say thank you to, you know, I just wanted you to I wanted the passion in my voice at the end of me talking about it make you not only think about me and maybe go back and want to acknowledge what I did, but also to think about yourself in your life. And do you give flowers when you think you should?
Yeah.
I thought that was super important.
Yeah, I think it's especially, you know, with so much, you know, so many people experiencing the after effects or the effects, I guess, of COVID-19. And I don't know about anybody else. For me personally, I just now started having a lot of people, not a lot of people, but people closer to me, you know, struggle with COVID. I had a couple people who said they had it, and then, you know, it was a breeze. You know, I have an uncle who's been dealing with COVID for the past 6 weeks or so, who's on a air ventilator. Yeah, he's on a ventilator. He's in a tent now, you know, in the hospital. Like he's alive, he's making it through. But it took me a long time to experience things that closely, right? Yeah. Like that. And so that thought of reminding people how you feel about them and how you're thankful for them definitely comes through on that song Flowers. And it hit me because of that. And with so many people who are experiencing, you know, this type of, you know, this pandemic, it feels like there's more death around than at times period. I could be wrong about that for everyone else.
No, I mean, you're right. You're right. And you could just be gone like immediately. You know, we all thinking that we got all of this time and I can do this later. No, you literally have right now, and you don't even have in the 2 hours from now. You got right now in this moment, and that's it. You know, and so now 2020 has shown that more than anything, like how fragile, first of all, that the human body is, that we just die so easily. But how that's finite.
Right.
Coup de grace, you know, like so you have to like take full advantage of it. You know what I mean? And so yeah, that's why I put that on there. If there was a least favorite song on the album, what would that be? I'm just trying to see if there's a general consensus of people that say the same thing.
Least favorite. I wouldn't say that there's a least favorite on its own, but I would say that a lot of them, not a lot of them, but there are some that just feel, you know, conventional in a sense, and not necessarily from, you know, the singer don't sound good or the raps don't sound good. They live in this space that is without exclamation point. And so for me, when I think about that, I think about conventional songs or songs that, you know, I could hear somewhere and not know who this person is and not wonder and not care to and not care to
it's like background music.
yeah, not to Google, you know what I'm saying? Oh, that was a song just played.
Yeah, that was
yes,
cool.
I'll take a number 2, please. Thank you very much.
Yeah,
You know,
it's background music. Like you do your homework to it.
Right. And so Ride to me is a palate cleanser, but that one does feel conventional in that sense. You got a line on there that says, he said, you have a line on there where you go, I just cheese like mozzarella. You know what I mean? And like, you brought someplace else, but I'm like, man, I've been listening to that rhyme my whole life. You know?
Right.
Every rapper I remember turning on Rap City, turning on BT Uncut. No matter where you turn on, somebody cheesing like some type of cheese.
No mozzarella. No, but once again, that song was made, and that is the song that, like, if because I asked this question to anyone who's heard it, and they typically choose that one because that is the one that kind of sticks out because it's different than all the other songs. It's the only one that just kind of, I needed a song that if there's an event going on, a basketball game at a bowling alley while people just hanging out, talking, playing cards. Like, I needed a song that just sonically feels good that you don't have to pay attention to. You ain't got to listen to no bars. You ain't got to think about it. Like set up, you got to use your brain. Like, you know what I'm saying? But Ride, you can just, it's just something it's a vibe, and I didn't have a song that's a vibe because I don't really make music like that, which is probably why I'm never going to be at the echelon. I don't make dance music. I don't just make superfluous music. But I needed something that could just be played anywhere. And that's what that represented was that.
Yeah, I mean, look, like you said earlier, it definitely breaks the weight. It is the halftime portion of some very weighty commentary. I always think about one thing I've learned from a lot of artists that I appreciate that I never thought about prior to getting into this industry was the marketing decisions or the the boxes artists want to get into intentionally with different songs, right? I listen to 36 Chambers. Let's say 36 Chambers growing up. That was just some great raps, and that was the selling point. I guess Cream is maybe that's the song that you want to go.
Only because that was the single. If there was
right.
Nothing else, then that would have just been that too. It wasn't different.
Well, they put Method Man out there. METHOD Man was a single. That was just bars, basically. So I point that out to say when I was coming up, I wasn't thinking about, okay, well, they did this for radio. This is Money, Clothes, Hoes stuff. Like those thoughts came later. And, you have to have songs. I mean, if you want your music to be big, you have to make songs for big places. I think Ride stands out on this project because it's the only song that doesn't seem like it has an obvious purpose and connection with the broader project, right? Like, Kendrick does a great job of having weighty projects that still have those type of lighthearted songs that can go other places, but are still heavy. Like you can listen to DNA, and that's literally a trap song. It's a trap song trying to get you to be a better person, but it's still a trap song. So, or like Lupe Fiasco's on Clubhouse all the time talking about a lot of things. But one thing he points out is how people hated lasers. But when you go to his shows, all the people who hated lasers, those are the songs they're dancing the hardest to because he made those songs for the stage, And so I was, I see Ride serving his purpose. I see the purpose of Ride, but I'm not sure Ride like that. I'm not sure that there wasn't a way to do that within the confines of the project. And so that's why.
Oh, meaning, okay, I understand what you mean.
Like, I don't think you had to detour. I don't think you had to detour,
Right. Do you think that Queen is analogous to that then? Do you think, because Queen has another vibe feel that is intentional?
Well, Queen feels like flowers to me. I think Queen's an example of giving somebody their flowers. You're giving Black women their flowers, So it didn't hit me in the same way as Ride did in that regard. Oh,
okay. No, I just meant sonically.
Oh, yeah, it feels conventional. Yeah, sonically it feels conventional. It does. Yeah. I mean, it feels like songs that I've heard my whole life. You know,
Right.
I think
Same
that
with
those,
Feels Like Joe.
yeah,
Right.
you know, and so I think those songs are great for fans who may not have heard those songs or aren't in the music industry or aren't writing about rap music all day long. And I also think those songs are great for younger audiences because I do think there's a reason certain sounds transcend and certain sounds continue to be leaned on. You know,
Yeah.
like that soulful sound is always going to make people feel like church. You know, you want this, the tones in the music is going to stir certain octaves inside you that's going to be the reaction that you get. If you can put on trap beats forever and you always going to feel like you just drank some lean. It's just what the tones of the music do. And so I understand the reasoning, you know, for certain sonics to be as consistent as they are. But, you know, so that's where I'm coming from when I say, okay, yeah, this sounds like, you know, something conventional. And whenever, yeah, so whenever it's something like that, now everything else has to be crazy. Like if you're gonna have conventional sounds, then everything else needs to be wild. You know, like you need to be, well, you better say something I've never heard before. You better make a project build it turn into a robot. Someone better lose an arm, a leg, a left thumb in the first 4 bars or something. You have to pull me in on this one.
Is it helpful that the consolidation of the project, the fact that it is 30 minutes, just 10 songs, like with brevity, like does that help? Did that make you feel like, okay, that was digestible, which allows it to have replay value, or did you?
I'm not that type of listener. I'm not listening. I don't look at a track list and feel like I got to do work. You know, like I'm like, oh man, 27 songs. Oh, who you think I am? I'm trying to enjoy myself. If I enjoy you that much, I have no problem with how long it is. Most of my favorite albums growing up were long anyway.
10 songs was like an EP.
You're
but
right.
In this climate, because I feel like Nas had like the first 10 songs, and I was like, wait, why is it only 10 songs? That's ridiculous.
And it's really 9.
Right. so, but in this climate, it just seemed like, you know, that was it. Just get in and get out. And if you do that, then your chances of them wanting to replay the album would be higher.
I mean, if you're trying to play the algorithm game, sure, absolutely. You know what I mean? I mean, that's one of the evolutions of how albums have been put together since streaming became the go-to place where people find music. Make them shorter so they have to listen to it again, and now you're juicing your stats. You know, you know, you make a shorter song, it's going to do better on YouTube most likely, especially if you don't have some long intro, because a lot of people just go to YouTube to hear the song. They don't want to hear they want to hear you try to be Thriller. You know, they want to hear this song. They want to come back around to it. You know, so, but I'll think about what the album is supposed to be. Like, what's the point of the project? What are you trying to capture? Sometimes people are making albums that they want every song to be big. They want it to be anthemic. They want it to, you know, to work in stadiums. They want every song to, okay, they want this one for the girls. They want this one for the club. They want this one for the Knicks game. They want this. I mean, if that's the project, that can be great at 27 songs or 12 songs, you know. Yeah. If you want to have a message, maybe it takes you, maybe you're, you know, Black Trash, Sticky Fingers, and it takes you 17 songs to go through the day in the life of Kirk Jones' story, whatever. You know, maybe it takes you that long. But I think the point and purpose of the music isn't necessarily something that yields itself to shorter or longer, unless you're trying to play an algorithm game. You know, right. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and tell nobody to make 9-minute treatises to their next door neighbor and how they get up too early and cut the grass or something like that. But you know, if you give me 9 minutes of, you know, if you give me a 9-minute, if you Pharoah Monch, I want as much as I can get. You know, like if you're if you're Ab-Soul, give me as many raps as you can, because I haven't had any in a very long time. I've been waiting for them.
Hell yeah.
So, you know, that's really just up to how you feel about the project and what the purpose is of the project. But if you're asking me if the length made it more replayable, no, it didn't make it more replayable. It was replayable on its own. It just happened to be this length. You know, I went through this project maybe 4 or 5 times, you know, and actively and passively I was engaged because of what you're saying and where it's coming from. And like, there was all kinds of things to think about, you know, like it wasn't flippant raps about the last 15 seconds. You weren't making Snapchat rhymes. You weren't telling Insta stories, you know what I mean? Like you had some weighty things to say. So that carried me. But if you're trying to find new people, you know, maybe to me, I guess it plays well within the algorithm, plays well within the matrix in that regard too.
That is perfect. Just in your professional hip hop acumen, if you had to rate this album, truthfully, how would you rate it?
What rating would I give it, or how would I rate it? Was this a scale of 1 to 10?
You on the spot. How did HipHopDX use it? I think their scale was 1 to 5, right?
Yeah, they did 5, but then they added. They upgraded.
Pages was like 3.3, and then Same Page, Different Story went to 4.2. So like I grew. I mean,
that's a hot. They gave a 4.2 on that too. I mean, that's a great rating from any publication. If anybody's going to give anything a 4.2, 4 point anything out of 5, that's really high. You know what I mean? So maybe you get your flowers, you don't even realize it.
He was like, I wasn't giving that shit. You better take that and put it on the bank. Put that shit on your one sheet.
I mean, you know, look, I'm a critical listener, man.
Yeah, I know. Which is why you're asked this question.
I'm a critical listener.
Hear the preference of it. Your professional hip hop acumen. You are you, which is why I'm asking this.
I like this one more than Same Page, Different Story, but but I wouldn't give Same Page, Different Story a 4.2 though. Like I'd probably give it like a 3.9 or something like that. So this one's around the 4-point range to me because of what you're talking about, the timing of it, how you sound doing it. Like you're in it, you know, like there are emotions that come out of the list of me as a listener when I listen to this. Like when we talked about the Fear video, you know, like you know, there's a part of the world that's going to feel like they see that story all the time. Right. There's been tons of songs about, you know, rappers getting pulled over by the police. You know, this is a thing that is, you know, is said a lot, and it still felt gripping. You know, that to me is where voice and imagination lives. You know, like not maybe the scenario looks similar, but how it's presented connects. You know, Arielle did that to me. You know, I didn't know this story at all.
You didn't even know her. I
didn't know her at all either. And you know, there's been all kinds of people, you know, writing songs in tribute of people who passed away, and not all of them hit me. That one did. Set Up I love. You know, like Set Up to me is the one that I played the most backwards because I was really trying to get in the story, the back and forth. And that one, maybe it's a crime tale, but it's a bigger metaphor. You know what I'm saying? It's actually not really a crime. It's an enigma. It's actually a problem that we all have to face each other. You know, when we face each other. So that one did that for me. I loved what's the second one? Pain. Pain back in all 3 of those verses are fire. You know what I'm saying? So Ride I don't need, you know. Queen probably has low replay value just because you know, the music, there is a conventional nature to the music, and it feels like it's, you know, targeting, you know, a market that I'm not 100% representative of, even if I agree with the sentiment. And so now that's 80% of the album. So if I don't like 2 tracks, it's only 10.
Wait, so did you not like Safe?
Oh, no. I'm not saying Safe. I'm sorry. Ride and Queen, right? Safe is good. I like Safe too. But like, you know, those are songs that are not necessarily going to bring me back to the well in the same way. And I put replay value high on how I rank albums. Like how good is a song if I don't want to listen to it?
Yeah.
How good is a project if I'm like, oh, I'm good, I'm done?
Yeah.
You know, oh, it's good. Oh man, the way you did that, that was fresh. I mean, it's like that line on Zoolander. It's like, oh yeah, Sting. I love him. The kind of music he makes, I don't really listen to it, but the fact that he makes it, I respect that. Well, how much do you really like Sting?
Right.
And so, you know, that's how I look at music. And so, you know, if there's 4 tracks that I either don't like or don't listen to, that weighs on me, because now I'm like either jumping around the album or I'm just not putting those on my playlist. And so I don't know how much money people invested in them songs. I don't know how much time, effort, mix and mastering cost, studio time. You know, I don't know what went into that, but I know that for me, that return looks like it's less than these other songs that I like a lot more. And I feel, and I am that way because of the era in which I grew up. We had CDs. If I spent $10 on a CD and 20% of that project wasn't good, I'm mad that I want to get my $2 back. I want to go to Sam Goody or Best Buy, and now we're going to do a barter and exchange. Hey, I know the last time I got one of these, only 75% of it was good. So why don't we come down? I'll give you 80% of the cost, and then I'll feel better about it.
All right, Justin, I'm gonna give you your $3 back for Shine, Ride, and Queen.
You know what I'm saying? Thank you. Now we rock it. Now you got a perfect 5.
Oh, so I should have taken out 7 songs.
Right, for me. Making 7 songs for me, you would have got a 5. You got a higher average, you know, but look, I mean, that's the hard part with being an artist, right? Because you do have an obligation to yourself, to where you come from, but also to your audience, right? And maybe, you know, the audience expectation or the market expectations play a bigger or smaller role than they should, but they are there, right? Like okay, I could make some songs that I love, but if I'm really trying to sell this record, then I need to be considerate of the people's, you know, other people's ears. Like I was talking to, actually I got another one. I got one up already. I got another one about to drop. But with Salaam Remi, I mean, he put on one of the best projects of last year, Black on Purpose. It's one of the best projects last year that nobody heard. I mean, you want to talk about a who's who of everybody awesome in the world on some powerful, meaningful music. That joint is the joint, right? It's incredible. And, you know, but nobody heard it. You know, he paid for it on his own. But he's okay with it because he did it specifically. And this is Salaam Remi now. Salaam Remi sold a lot of records. You know, Salaam Remi ran Sony. You know what I mean? Like, Salaam Remi sold a lot of records, but he went out and put this project out with the specific intent to not care about none of that stuff, put out music that he felt was important, that was meaningful. So the returns on the project, the financial returns on the project, wasn't something he factored into creating it. So therefore, at least he says he didn't factor into creating it, because I can't tell. It sounds great to me, especially that Black Thought verse. The Common verse is great on there too. Hey, you should check that project out. Everyone should check out Black on Purpose. Mumu Fresh got the best verse on there to me, but you know, that's just how I feel. But he didn't have those same considerations when he put the project together. So if you don't have those considerations, then why even make decisions based on it? If you don't care, if this is not your project specifically, but if someone's making a message that they feel is important to get out, or at least to have it exist, so that at some future time, since music is basically just interest on investment now anyway, you're better off being in the game with the message that you really mean than try to curtail that message based off of what you think is going to get you a Google spike in the next 60 days. You know, if that's not your goal. Now, if it is your goal, well, then play by those rules too. I used to tell people this all the time, man, and I never did. I should have done it. I probably would have been better off now. But when, like 2012, 11, 10, something like that, that's when there was all these stories about people buying followers and stuff, or buying YouTube views. They're buying YouTube views, right? And it was like, oh man, that's foul. They're buying YouTube views. And I was like, but why is that then, right? Because then there wasn't the same, you weren't looking at the same correlation, the same conversion rate between, you know, streams and TV shirts or t-shirts or whatever you're trying to sell. But I'm like, well, look, if everybody's doing that, you're better off not having an opinion about it if that's something you don't want to do, right? And here's what I mean. You can get mad at them and point at them for buying followers or whatever. And this was when companies were doing it. Like, this is when the label, I'm talking about those examples. You can get mad at them if you want to. You know that's in the marketplace. You either trust that that's going to get rectified in the future, or you get in the game, and then when it gets rectified, you still got your followers or your streams or whatever you got. You know what I mean? It's like the focus should be on what you're doing artistically, the moves you want to make, you know, the audiences you want to reach, you know, and what you feel is where integrity lives in that process, right? I mean, it's the optics of who's looking hot don't always add up. You know, there's so many people who are just stay flossing or fronting or, you know, showing all the things that they're worth, and they're in debt. They have so much debt. I worked in investment banking. I worked in an investment bank the day the market crashed in a major way during the Great Recession in 2008. I'd never seen so many millionaires running around crying broke. In my mind and in my heart, I was chuckling a little bit. I'm like, come on, guys. Yo, there's 25 of y'all make over 1.5 million a year. All y'all got money. And that's when I realized and really appreciated the, you know, debt to equity relationship. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, you make $1.5 million a year, but you got 4 houses, you got 4 kids and 3 private schools. You know, you still have expenses. So just because something presents one way doesn't mean that that's actually the case. True. It's more important to focus on what the point is for, you know, whatever it is that you're working on, you're creating, and you're putting out there, than it is to, you know, look at what is actually best for things that aren't part of your list of considerations. You know, like replay value. Like, I've got long album. Take what am I looking at right now? The Eminem shit or some shady LP. What's that? 19 songs, 21 songs, something like that. Replay value. I can play it all day. I can play it all day. You know. You know. What's the short album that I don't like? Well, it wouldn't be on the wall because it's the short album that I don't like.
Nas with Kanye, that one.
There you go. Nasir. I did not like Nasir. It is short. I like Cop Shot the Kid. And maybe I think there was one like Rose in Harlem, I think was that? No, that was on what's her name song. So yeah, Cop Shot the Kid is the one I like. I didn't like Nasir because that's not the Nas I like. I like Nas, the storyteller, the conceptual guy with the big albums, with the themes. I like it when hip hop was dead, and then the one with
I Gave You Power.
Right. I mean, his whole albums were structured like that. I like that Nas. I don't like, I got 7 days in Kanye, let me kick some freestyle Nas. I mean, that's not the guy that I like. That's not the guy that pulls me in. And that project was a short version of things that weren't the things that I like about Nas. Now, if I'm Nas and Kanye calls me up and says, Nas, I got 7 days in the studio. I want to do a 5-song album with you, and it's definitely coming out. I say yes. You definitely say yes. Like, no one says no to that. Yeah. But as far as me as a Nas fan, that's not the Nas I like. Right. I'm not just happy to hear his voice over a track. I can go hear his voice over a track in plenty of ways. And I don't always like Nas songs. So you can give me 5 versions of the type of Nas song I tend to like the least. Not for me, you know? Right. So a lot of that just comes, you know, from, you know, who the listener is. I'm sure the ride is probably going to be the one that gets you the most spins, to be honest with you.
Wouldn't that be hilarious?
No, it wouldn't be. It would be intentional because you said that. You said you want a song for the summertime is something that can be played in a stadium and those kind of things. You said that. That's what it does.
That's what I made it for. And then it surprised me, like Nick Grant, it's his favorite song on the album. Yeah. And I'm like, what? You're Nick Grant. You're a fucking, like, I made my album by being inspired by you and your EP. Mm-hmm. And Ride is your favorite. He's like, I like songs that just are a vibe. I was like, wow.
There it is.
I mean, he's the only person that said that. Everyone else that was their least favorite. But
maybe he should have his vote should be weighted because he is Nick Grant. Wait till he announces what he's about to announce, man, because that's going to be a game changer for him. But away from that, I also think that, because to that point, it hit me heavy when Snoop did Snoop Lion, Reincarnation, right? And so I was on that press. I was part of that press run. We were interviewed him as part of that press run. And man, everybody was clowning this dude for making a reggae album. They clowned him for changing his name to Snoop Lion. They said he was just so high, he just didn't know what he was doing. My man said, I realized I don't have an album that they could play in the White House. So if I ever go to the White House, I need to have some music that I can play in the White House. They're not gonna play Gin and Juice in the White House. You know what I mean? I need to have some music they can play in the White House. So he did that. I'd argue Bush is kind of like that too. I'd argue Bush is kind of like that because I like that one a lot. That's the one with Pharrell, with California Rolls. This is how California rolls. Oh, yeah. But that struck me. I was like, that makes sense. Yeah, Snoop. I love Super Gangsta Snoop Dogg. That's my favorite Snoop. But if I was pulling up, if I, I can't see any of those songs being played at the White House.
Right.
And then I think he ended up going to the White House. I don't know if he performed. Common had songs you could play at the White House, so there is an intention sometimes that makes sense. And, it's really just about what it is that, what your goals are for a project, and then take the good and the bad with it.
Right. I like that. So me and Snoop had the same sentiment.
Yeah, right. Look, as much as I love, who's someone I love? Who's someone I love that I know I can never rock with him over there? I don't know. Bad example. There's artists that I love that
Scarface.
He might be a great example. I love Scarface. I mean, that's not a secret. I'm not sure which Scarface song, works in a stadium. I'm not sure. Guess Who's Back? Maybe. The Kanye one?
Smile?
Maybe. I mean, that doesn't take away, anything from his catalog. It's just that, it's just something that, happens if you're not thinking intentionally, or if you're thinking intentionally and that's not one of your goals.
Right.
Like I think about music based on where you can hear it, like for me, like if I could, I listen to music when I'm smoking weed. I listen to music when I'm driving. I listen to music when I downshift into Mac mode. I listen to music when I'm in the gym. I listen to music when I'm cleaning the house, right? And these are all basically things that where music would be the most prevalent, most consistent at every point in my life. Now it's added to like, okay, I'm at the dentist. I got to listen to music because I don't want to sit here and listen to that drill, whatever it is, right? But for me, I think about those 5 places first. And so if a song works in all 5 of those places, that's a great song to me. Like Flashing Lights. Flashing Lights is a 5-tool song, right? You can smoke weed to it, you can drive to it, you can work out to it, you can downshift into Mac mode, you can clean your house to it. Feels great. Doves Cry. 5-tool song, you know what I'm saying? Like, like Billie Jean, 5-tool. It's hard to make a 5-tool song. Not everyone can do it, but the more places a song works on its own without feeling forced in one direction really stands out to me. And that's, and because of that, the inverse is also true as well. When, just because I pretty much love Dirty Sprite 2 the most in a strip club, doesn't mean it's a bad album. I like it in the club, I like it in the strip club, what I mean? Doesn't mean that it's terrible. It doesn't mean I would say, it was a failed piece of music. It was literally made through that for that, so from that perspective, it maximized what it is, so it's true to the to the mission statement in that regard. And it should, and I'm aware enough to be able to celebrate it in that context. I can't sit here and think about, man, this album should be made more like this. And that way I'm not a fanager. I'm not trying to tell you what to do.
Right.
But if a song or an album works in a whole lot of places, all the songs or albums in my life that have been important to me that work in a whole lot of places are really great albums.
Mm-hmm.
So Like if I take like the Roots and then you shoot your uncle or whatever, I think and then you shoot your cousin. I think that's what it is. I've been playing Ghost of Tsushima on PS5, and so I had to kill my uncle at the end. But, but I think his is and then you shoot your cousin. I think that's what it is, right? It's one of their best albums. Like people love, like it got incredible ratings. The way they told the story backwards, it's a beautiful piece of art. You know, I think the when it came out, the media gave it great ratings. If I'm thinking of the right album, awesome project. One of my least favorite Roots albums, in the sense that I don't listen to it. Yeah. Like I could put it on and be mesmerized, but I don't necessarily listen to that album. I listen to How I Got Over. That's the one I like. You know, or The Tipping Point is another one I like, or Rising Down. You know, Phrenology. I don't listen to that one. Sorry. You know, I know it's this beautiful piece of art. It's progressive and all these things. I don't listen to it. You know, so if I'm not listening to this album, how good is it?
How good is it? Well, shout out to you that you said you listened to my joint 4 or 5 times.
Yeah.
That is awesome. That is amazing. And if it allowed you to listen to it that many times, then that means it did its job. And I love that.
Yeah, it's thoughtful. I personally think it's your best work, because to me it's your most focused work. That's my opinion. And I think of that, and you know, but also at the same time, you know, I know the type of music that I feel that I miss the most, the type of music that I miss because I don't hear it as often as I used to, especially commercially, you know, and that's message music. You know, I think there's a whole lot of music about the inner struggle that's become really popular over the past 10 years or so. And I think now is a great time to, you know, refocus that energy outwardly in a different way. But this album gave me a lot to think about.
Sweet. That's what's up, man. Well, you definitely made my day, bro. I really appreciate the deep dive in it. You know, I've been wanting to be able to do this, and so I'm so glad that you did this in the space for me.
100%.
And I'm excited, man. I'm excited. I hope people listen. I hope people share and tell people that it's a good listen. And hell, hopefully I'll get my flowers one day.
Can you you know, I mean, you got a 4.3 on DX. They gave you flowers. That's flowers.
Hey, that's funny. I hit him up and said, hey, I got this project. I know you don't work for DX no more, but can you rate it anyway?
That's funny. What was I gonna say too? That's what else I was about to say. Oh, can you send me do you have a draft of the setup? I know you said it's coming on Tuesday. Can you send me a link? I want to check it out.
You know, I just hit the, cause it's coming Tuesday, but you know, I still don't have the rough yet. And so we're waiting on that. The sad thing is, you know, Exhibit wasn't able to be in it because he's going through the shit right now.
I saw the headlines.
Yeah. But how creative we got with it is dope. Like it's very, you know, I mean, you've seen my videos. They, you know, like the hygiene and shit like that. It's very well done.
What up?
So I'm gonna, as soon as I get it, I'm sending it to you immediately.
Nice.
You already know.
I can't wait to see it. So what you got today? You got Lipstick Alley coming up?
Yeah, I got Lipstick Alley. I'm gonna change my clothes, and yeah, that's at 1:00. I think I'm gonna do Jude Friday. And I think, you know, I hit John up and I said, yo, what if we do put set up on Hate It or Love It and see what happens? And he was like, oh, that's a good idea. So I don't know if they're gonna actually do it, but you know, since I gotta be on him with, you know, Jude, he don't want to bring me on to fucking talk about my album. He's like, oh, let's just talk shit, and you know, you can plug the album out, you know, because he don't want
right.
to. But I'm like, it might be interesting if we do a hate it or love it. Those are always fun.
You should ask him the question about Detroit. Ask him why you don't get more love in Detroit.
I wish someone else would ask him, because because of our relationship, if I ask him anything about me as a rapper, his brain immediately has to go to like our relationship and why you make all of this money as an actor, why you want to rap? Like that, you can't say nothing else. So like maybe if someone else had asked him that, like if you still do
I haven't done it in a while. I haven't done it since I don't know, maybe September, October.
Oh, okay.
It's weird now. He moved to Michigan. Not weird with him, nothing like that. But like he moved to Michigan.
Right. And, so that's what I'm saying. Like if someone, I feel like if someone else asked him, the answer would be more like he could give a more objective answer. But I feel like if I asked him,
I forgot you're in Blue Mountain State. I used to watch that joint.
You used to watch this?
Yeah, I used to watch that show. Like first 2 seasons.
This is my publicist now, probably like, I've been texting you. Are you good? Hold on 1 second.
Hello?
Jen, I'm on with Justin Hunt right now. We wrapping up our Zoom interview right now, but I did get your text. I just was like,
I just want to make sure you had everything.
Yeah, I got it.
For 30 minutes from now. Okay, that's all.
Okay, thanks.
All right, bro.
Yeah, Blue Mountain State. Hey.
I used to watch that. That show was funny, man.
Man, hey man, that shit was fun as hell to play that character, obviously.
Mm-hmm. Which is your favorite character? Which is your favorite character that you played over the years?
Blue Mountain State was the most fun. Weeds was the most fulfilling as an actor. So just like fun of just being a person and waking up at 5 o'clock in the morning to go be around 100 scantily clad French Canadian girls. And my character fucking gets to just like, I'm just a man and I'm getting that's obviously the most fun. And then the cast, the guys, they're hilarious. You know what I'm saying? We in Canada, like just the whole everything about that was just fun as hell. But we's just like cerebrally and being able to play with Mary Louise Parker and Romney and just being free and us just going back and forth. The symbiosis that we had, was like no other. Like Romney and I, simpatico. Mary Louise Parker, it took a while, but in season 3, we just had confluence, at that time. And so it was great to do that. But definitely the most fun.
What was the set like for the Meg? Was it green screen largely?
Yeah, it was. Well, it's weird because we were on this, a big pool. It's like this big, huge pool. And so the green screen is like the biggest shit that you can imagine because it was just like a world of green screen that was so huge, going that way and that way. And then another way we look would just be like a forest. And then, the days I hate is when we had to actually go out on the ocean. I didn't like those days. Mm-hmm. But do I think that I would not describe it as fun. Like, I enjoyed being in New Zealand. I enjoyed doing the movie. I can't wait to do the second movie, And
I'm glad you didn't die. I didn't know there was a sequel.
Yeah. I'm glad I didn't die either.
Yeah.
We need that franchise. That blockbuster franchise for sure. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I'm coming back and, they're going to address the fact, I lost 100 pounds since the last time we did it, but by the time we get back there, I might have gained that shit back. So it's not fun in the same way that's fun. You know what I'm saying? My part was serviceable. I mean, I was funny in it, but It's not like I only had 2 moments. Like I had the moment on top of the thing where I blow up, and then I had a little moment with her in the water when I throw her in the water and we stuck there. But other than that, I'm just kind of pieced in there as a part of this ensemble. You know what I mean? So that was not fulfilling for me as an actor, that much, but just being there and how big of a situation this was awesome. So hopefully I get more to do in the second one, and then it becomes more fun to me. But based off of what they're telling me so far, it seems like it's going to be more fun.
You get your flowers. Look at you. You get your movie flowers too.
Man, I want these. Look, I play DJ on the Meg. Okay, that's cool. Paige Kennedy is my life, my everything, from the beginning to the end. I create this thing, so that's more of like who I am. I also, real quick, I have a Netflix series coming out with Mike Epps, Wanda Sykes, and Kim Fields called The Upshaws. It's a sitcom, so that'll be out probably later this year.
Word up! Congratulations.
Thank you, man. That's funny as hell. You gonna like?
It sounds like it. I love Wanda and Mike.
Yeah. And Kim Fields is a freaking legend. She's like, she's like our anchor, So that joint is fun. I play Mike's best friend, who did 7 to 10 for him in prison for a job where I was a getaway driver, but he's the only one that got away.
Wow.
So yeah, yeah, man. So I got that coming, but yeah, man.
Man, so you sound like you getting your shine on, huh?
You keep saying that, but
no.
What I want.
Well, no, but this was a reference to the rapper and a double entendre to your album, by the way. Because Shine did the time.
Shine. Talk about Shine. Hey, that's what's up. Hey,
Shine did the time. You know what I'm saying? I got bars. I be doing stuff, man. I be over here rapping in my head sometimes.
I see you, bars. Listen, I feel that is incumbent upon you, and the onus is on you to help disseminate this messaging, seeing as it is Black History Month, and that this is for our people, and your voice is very loud.
I'm gonna send this over to my editor right now, actually, and see if we can run it this weekend. And there's a couple of things we talked about in here that I might use at different places. So I'll put this out as a conversation between us, and then I'll use some other stuff for some other ideas. So keep you in the news cycle.
That's what's up, man. Hey, I appreciate you so much, man. And once again, like this is invaluable to me. Your time, your words, and your honesty. So
word up. No, I appreciate it, man. Congratulations on the release, man, and thank you for making it, man. There's a lot of powerful commentary in here.
Thank you, dog. All right, that's what's up, man. I appreciate you, bro.
All right, bro. Peace.
All right, peace.